Breaking news at 9. An explosion at the Port Authority bus terminal in New York City. One person now in custody. You're taking a live look. We're going to have the latest breaking details.
Also this morning, a top Red Sox pitcher, Stephen Wright, now facing some serious charges. Why he was arrested after an incident at his Tennessee home.
Students at Tufts University on alert. The college issuing a warning after reports of an alarming assault.
And showdown for a key Senate seat. Both candidates making their final push just a day before voters head to the polls for this special election in Alabama.
This is 7 News Today in New England.
And we're staying on top of that breaking news out of New York City, taking a live look right now. One person in custody after an explosion at the Port Authority bus station. That blast creating chaos across the morning commute in Manhattan. We are tracking the latest developments from both police as well as the fire department. But first, we're also tracking some more winter weather that's moving into our area.
Getting prepared for this after our first blast of snow over the weekend. So the big question is, when can we expect it to start? In fact, we actually saw some flurries this morning as we bring in meteorologist Chris Lambert. Not a lot of snow, though.
Exactly right. Just to set the stage and say, hey, winter is here and it's going to be sticking around. But expecting some sunshine this afternoon. This winter weather advisory you see north and west of 495. That is for tomorrow morning. Expecting, pre-dawn, 4 or 5 o'clock through about 6 or 7 o'clock. A little bit of light snow north and west of 495. This go around, though, we're going to drag a lot of mild air into the system. So I expect it to be mostly rain inside 495, although there may be a brief burst of some light snow between 128 and 495. And then we go over to just a short period of an icy mix after a little bit of snow from Worcester to Fitchburg and then over to rain. You have to go far to the north and west up into ski country to stay mostly snow on this one. 33 right now in Boston, 27 in Worcester. Quiet day today. There are a couple of flurries that Chris was talking about early this morning. Those are moving offshore and in its wake. Some sunshine and a little more melting to be done throughout the day. Close to 40 this afternoon. A lot of us see more melting tomorrow as temperatures near the coast go 45 to 50 with the incoming rain. Guys?
We want to get back to the breaking news coming out of New York City that we are following very closely. We have learned that one person is in custody now after an explosion at the Port Authority bus station. And we want to get right over to Krista, who has the very latest. Krista.
We're getting some new information, Chris, from the AP. Not only do law enforcement officials now say 2 people are hurt, including the suspect, they say that this guy had a pipe bomb strapped to him, and that's when it went off on a subway platform. This happened earlier this morning around 7:30, and that is the man who's in police custody right now. So witnesses, as we take a live look at the police presence here, witnesses reported hearing 2 blasts. Keep in mind, this is a busy commuter area, lower Manhattan, near Times Square. The person who was arrested has non-life-threatening injuries, and the AP also reporting that that other person who was on the platform with him also sustained non-life-threatening injuries as well. So as we take a look at this video here, we do know, of course, the Port Authority, this is a huge transportation hub, and at one point, train lines had been evacuated. Also, a man who works with CNN nearby called the network, called in, told them exactly what he was saying, or seeing rather, and here's what he said moments ago.
We were in the, I was in the Port Authority, it was one of the last buses in before they started evacuating us. I was coming down the stairs of the Port Authority. They started making the announcement. Sorry, it's a little loud here. It's a lot of ambulances.
What did you see? What did you hear?
It was mostly a very organized evacuation of the Port Authority. All the activity seems to be underground. There's no visible signs of anything happening in the Port Authority, no smoke or anything like that. So it was an orderly evacuation of the Port Authority. But right now, the entire area is just, I mean, there's dozens of ambulances in the area. I'm sure that's probably normal for some sort of a, type of call like this. But they're really evacuating the area, and it goes all the way back towards the Times Square area. So traffic is obviously backed up. It's hard to get around.
Did you see any sign? Did you smell anything? Did anybody say anything to you there?
I didn't smell anything, but yes, people did hear an explosion underground. I did when I was walking towards Times Square, because they kind of had to maneuver us around a little bit. We definitely heard people talking about it. And what's interesting now, Chris, is when you look up towards 49th Street, there's more activity up there, which taking that subway line, which I would have been getting on to go to the office right now on the A train, that's kind of where the northern part of that station would land.
Right.
So,
all right. So, Dave,
the trains are kind of long. So the end is towards the Port Authority, and then the northern part will be towards, the 47th Street, 48th Street area. So that whole corridor is shut down.
We should mention that White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders has tweeted that the president has been briefed on the situation. And there you see, as this police presence grows, the entire area there in Times Square has ground to a halt. So just to recap for you, as we take a look at these live pictures, 2 people are hurt, non-life-threatening injuries. That includes the suspect, who reportedly had a pipe bomb strapped to his chest, according to the AP, which was citing law enforcement sources. For now, we're going to send it back to you guys on the anchor desk.
Okay, Krista, thank you. We do want to bring in our 7 News security expert, Todd McGee, who is well-versed in these types of situations. Todd, you've joined us before in the past about similar circumstances, which unfortunately you have to join us again talking about this latest incident in New York. What do you make of it so far?
Well, early reports from MTA and Port Authority, the explosion occurred somewhere between West 42nd Street and 8th Avenue in New York. Also, the pipe bomb that has been identified on this particular person, it's not sure if it detonated prematurely, but again, where the suspect was injured, the person that was arrested was injured, along with appears to be 2 bystanders. This may have been a obviously deliberate act, but prematurely detonated. So again, the investigation's unfolding. One thing that we should make aware of the viewers is that Port Authority, New York, New Jersey, that bus terminal has approximately 1,800 to 2,000 buses that leave that terminal every single day. So if it's the largest, if not the largest in the country. So again, when we talk about soft targets, the bus terminal there is certainly a deliberate place to carry out a nefarious act such as this.
Todd, as you just mentioned, it's believed that this was a homemade pipe bomb. We saw not too long ago an accused terrorist using a car to run down bikers in New York City. Police obviously responding quickly. How do you stop this prematurely?
Very difficult to do. Again, you have a person that's blending in with the general foot traffic, just like Saipov with the vehicle ramming, blended in with the traffic and then chose his opportunity to then attack individuals that were along the bike path. In this particular case, again, it's that level of vigilance that not just the law enforcement presence, but also the commuters really need to make extreme vigilance and keep their eyes happening. Your former interview that you just had a very, very good account and a very detailed account of what he observed. So again, it's that level of vigilance that the commuters need to be able to report to the authorities.
Sounds like, Todd, just from the preliminary reports that we're hearing, that this device either malfunctioned or didn't go off as planned. What does that tell you about the planning involved here? Does this seem like it was someone who maybe wasn't as technologically savvy at putting these types of devices together, or did police intervene here? I know we don't have the details yet, but what is your inclination when you're looking at the situation here now?
Well, kind of the positive thing on this, as far as the investigation goes, the bomb technicians will be able to look at the device, and they'll be able to determine why the device went off prematurely. Now, I'm not a bomb tech. However, if this individual was using unstable materials, something such as a TATP, something along those lines, where that material is extremely volatile and it doesn't take much for friction or some type of aspect of that volatile material to detonate itself. So there's a number of things. We don't know if there were arming switches, if there was remote detonation. Again, devices are very sophisticatedly put together. Although they're used from rudimentary materials, things that can be found around the home or Home Depot or Lowe's, they still have a level of sophistication when assembling them. So the fact that this potentially could have prematurely detonated is going to be will be all revealed once the post-investigation reveals the results.
This obviously happening during the morning commute. You mentioning how busy the Port Authority is, police having to evacuate the bus and train terminals there. And we're taking a live look. We can still see a lot of police there on the ground. Though the suspect is in custody, what are they doing now exactly? Does it appear the threat is over, or are they just making sure that every aspect is covered?
Well, part of that investigation is really just to confirm if this individual is alone. We don't know if there was a second handler. We don't know if there was someone that was watching this person, potentially a handler that could have dropped this person off. Was he a lone wolf acting by himself? We still need to wait to hear if there's going to be a claim by a terrorist organization such as ISIS or a sympathizer. So again, we don't have that information yet, and we don't want to speculate. But again, the post-investigation, and as this continues on, we'll certainly, be waiting for all that information to come through.
Todd, second attack in New York City, if this is indeed a terrorist attack as it sounds, second attack in just a little over a month, but also the second time where the suspect is being taken into custody alive. We hear a pipe bomb strapped to the suspect's chest. Sounds like it was a suicide bombing attempt. How key is it now to have this suspect alive, just as they did with Sayfullo Saipov?
Exactly. Just like with Saipov, now's the time to be able to glean information and glean intelligence. How were they radicalized? When were they radicalized? Are they part of a group? Are they operating alone? These are all critical things that we need to find out. And again, we're only as smart as our last incident. So if we're able to glean any level of information from these individuals, these suspects now in custody, it's really going to help our intelligence community. It's going to give us a new beginning to begin to try to infiltrate some of these different things. And again, to speak to your point about being proactive, if we can understand how they think, how their mindset is, where they're getting this information to assemble these devices, these are all aids in helping law enforcement in trying to interdict these types of attacks.
Todd, we've seen incidents like this happen. Lone wolf attacks, which seem to be popping up with disturbing regularity. Obviously, New York is a target, but security is so tight. I mean, New York's been through this before, and they have police out in full force. Is it these soft targets? I mean, the Port Authority is a very busy place, but is that still considered a soft target? And is that the new worry now that these soft targets are becoming the regular targets for these extremists?
Well, soft targets. We have to go back again to when the bar was raised for security after 9/11. Our government has been hardening all of its governmental soft targets for the last 16 years. So now, when we begin to start looking at these particular attacks, vehicles being weaponized, individuals walking through crowds with pipe bombs, these are absolutely the soft targets. These are the areas where large crowds of people gather. We also need to start thinking about our malls. We need to start thinking about our stadiums, our large-scale venues. These are the soft targets that individuals are going to try to focus their attacks on, and ultimately, that's where they're going to get the largest amount of casualties are in these large, congested, crowded areas.
We're on the heels, Todd, of President Trump's announcement saying that he is going to recognize Jerusalem as the new capital of Israel. And then to see this happen just a few days later, do you think it's related? Or I mean, obviously, it's way too early to tell and to know, but it seems that after such a big announcement, to have something like this to happen on the heels, I'm guessing that law enforcement officials across the nation are prepared for something like this.
Every law enforcement agency around the country is going to be briefed. They're going to be looking for guidance and support from the intelligence community. The announcement that was made by the president last week certainly has global impact, and we really need to understand how to be able to protect ourselves in the event of these types of announcements and where they have this level of impact. So again, law enforcement being on the front line, again, we need to engage our civilians and get them to understand and develop force multipliers to keep these soft targets safe. Law enforcement, all the canine bomb technicians, all working in unison to keep the general public safe. But again, I can't emphasize this enough that the general public also needs to weigh in and have that level of vigilance and support law enforcement with sharing information that they see, that anything that looks out of the ordinary.
Okay, Todd McGee, our 7 News security expert, thank you so much for joining us as we continue to follow this breaking news of reports of an explosion in New York City near the Port Authority terminal. It's believed that the suspect who is in custody used a homemade pipe bomb. We'll continue to follow this story. This as Boston police are now reacting to that explosion, tweeting, "The Boston PD is monitoring the current incident in New York City and continues contact with NYPD. Although there does not appear to be a specific threat to the Boston area at this time, the Boston Police Department has stepped up patrol near major MBTA stations and remains and reminds officers to remain vigilant.
So much more ahead here on the news station this morning, including more breaking news.